Hello everybody. Welcome to the second part of the Perks system. Today we are going to implement the UI for the Perk system. We have did some basic scripting in previous episode, and today we will basically implement these perks that Martin, our artist, has did as a preview in Photoshop. So I will be taking this reference and basically putting it into the editor. Um, I have also created the rest of the perks. So if we go to the resources and perks, now we have all the rest of the perks ready and implemented, because it would take a lot of time to show it in the video. But basically, for example, let's say hit points, the hit points perk basically increases the hit point stats by 1.1, so this is like 10%. And this is the implementation basically of the perk, where we ask the perk give me and modify the stat, and it just modifies based on this stat we provided here, right? So this is how the perks are looking basically in the editor implemented. And now we will be basically putting them into the UI. So let's go into the UI. We have our perk system here, and let's create a widget. So Darfall and widget variant. So basically widgets, as I mentioned in the previous episode, widgets are the standalone parts where the UI is located in Darfall. Let me quickly rename it perks. And I will open UI scene. This is just the preview UI scene, so like you can see, or you can basically see all the UI elements in a game that has all the widgets. And let me drag the widgets perks here. And now this is basically, if I go into the prefab, this is basically an empty widget. It's prepared prefab we have in Darfall, and it's just have this twin, the widget component here, and the canvas, right? Okay, let me do this. Nice. And let's preserve the aspect. Let's set the native size. So plan is to create the main window and then put the perk nodes here. So what would I do is just let's create UI image, just name it window, and yeah, let's okay. Now let me set the size and the aspect ratio of the game to be more realistic, so something like 16:9. Let me resize this preview. And now with the window, we can resize it exactly as is on the preview. And actually, let me reduce the opacity of the preview, and I will put it above the window. And I will also lock it, so we cannot move it accidentally, but we always see it, right? So we have our window, and let's put this book up here. So this book up here will basically also serve as a button and a switch between the skill system we have and this perk UI. So from the UX perspective, when you are like assigning your perks and you want to switch to skill book where you have your abilities, you don't need to go with the mouse to the bottom right, but you just straight here click on this book, and it will be switched to the new ability window. So let me create a button here, Darfall button. By the way, for anyone who is interested, these are like pre-prepared Darfall prefabs we have in the UI. these are just editor scripts that put this into this context menu. And as you can see, just created a button which is located on a disk. So instead of us like going here and looking and drag and dropping correct prefabs here, we have it nicely in the UI context menu right here. Okay, so this was a button, and I will disable the autosave because it's lagging a bit. We don't need text, we don't need icon, but we'll modify the entire button component with the art. So let us modify the sprite. No, this is for the normal state. So this button is a custom component we created. It has some advantages compared to the regular Unity button. Okay, so maybe like this. So this is normal state. Let's go into the hover. So we have a hover here as well, and then we have a pressed state here. And let me hold this up. Okay, so normal, hover, and pressed. Now this is a preview for the button, so we can see changing. It's working. Now we have the button here. Let me anchor it on top, so it's always positioned correctly, no matter how we resize the window in the future. And okay, what else do we have here? So we have these grid lines. So Martin has prepared the grid lines as a standalone texture. Okay, so now we have the grid lines. Let me resize them. Let me preserve the aspect. And okay, so maybe like this, maybe a bit smaller size. Yeah, good enough. So let me rename its image, and it's grid lines. And this is button switch, let's call it. Okay. So this is currently how it's looking. Not very nice, but we are getting there. Now I would say let's put in the buttons for the perks themselves. So let me create a new object. How we will do it? So we don't need even the size of this object. This will act only as a parent. So let's say nodes, and let's start putting nodes here. So with the node, we basically need it as a toggle. So when the node is selected, it's highlighted because we will have it here. So when user selects a node, you will have the name, the description, and you can learn it for perk points. So I am thinking, instead of using toggle, we will use a button as base prefab, and then basically we will create a prefab out of this button. So prefab variant. It's always to build your UI out of prefabs and modularly, where you like extend from different prefabs, because then if you need to change some part of your UI, maybe you change the technology, maybe something change, you want to change across all the buttons in your project, you just change it once in a button instead of going across your scenes and prefabs and changing it everywhere. So this has been actually very helpful throughout the project. Okay, so let me think. So let me resize it here. So this text we don't need, and we have this icon, and this icon is actually the icon of the perk. So let me, like, for example, use this perk, and let me resize it, and let me scale it down a bit. Okay. So now this is base of our node. Now, how to make it highlighted? So what am I thinking is I will make another image and let me use some frame for this. Yes, so something like this. Okay. So when this node will be selected, we'll just enable this image. When it's not selected, so the rest of the nodes are not selected, it will be without this image. So we will also attach component here where this functionality will be located. So let me say image selection outline. You can notice that I'm always prefixing the types of the UI element this is. So for example, for images, this is image, for text, this is text, for buttons, this is button. This is so when you look at the UI, you always know what type of game object basically it is without, you know, selecting it and checking the components. So this is just for the clarity. Okay, now we have a first perk, and then we have this perk text with as a UI. So this will tell you what is the cost of this perk. So let me. So this perk available. Okay. So let's insert another image, and we'll make it smaller. We'll anchor it correctly. Okay, so like this. Okay, and a text. So for text, let me insert the text here. Okay, so 2 for example. And can we increase the size? Yes, a bit. Okay, so maybe like this. Okay, so point costs, and this is image costs. Okay, so I think now I would say we already have this perk. Yeah, so let me create a prefab out of this button. So let me drag and drop it here, prefab variant, and let's name it, it's element perk. So yeah, element perk. And now, so this has not been renamed, let me rename it. Okay, and let us for example first fill up this this hit points perk. So this basically, when you unlock them, they will grant you some hit points percentage. So now let us create a component. So let us go into the code and do we have a perk folder here created? No, at least I don't see one. So Perk System, and let's create perk node element. Okay, let's set up the correct namespace so we have it clear, and this will be a mono behavior, right? And what do we actually need here? So let me open the perk itself. Let me attach this what was it called, perk node element. Oh, it's still not saved with the mono behavior. But basically, what do I want to do is, what do we need here? So we basically need to set what scriptable object asset this UI element represents. So we will need the field for the scriptable object. We'll need field for the icon, for the selection outline, and for the cost. So let us do it. So private I think it's perk a perk definition. Definition private tm pro texts. This is the point cost. Private. What do we have there? Outline. Let's name it selection outline. And then private image icon. Perk icon. Okay, serialized field and required. So we basically put this required attribute. I will show you in the UI. This is so it is clearly defined in the inspector that this reference needs to be filled out. Otherwise, the game will crash at the startup, right? So this is not an optional field, it's required. And basically it looks, okay, let me add a perk node element. So it looks like this, right? So this is part of the Odin serializer asset. I recommend it, it's very good asset. Basically, until I drag something here, this will scream that, oh, it's required. So for the text, drag it here, and you see the error basically disappeared when I dragged it here. The icon and the outline. And for the prefab, we do not set the definition here because we'll set it on the instances in the perk widget. So let me go back and we set it here. So hit points. So let me drag the first hit points perk, the second hit points perk, and the third hit points perk. Nice. And now everything is set. And let me get back here. And what we can do on the start, we take this definition and we update the costs and the icon to reflect what is basically here. So perk icon dot sprite equals definition, and we should have icon here, and it's not. Yes, I think we don't yet have graphics for this, so let's define it. No, we don't need this because it's public, but I want to have it required, and we don't need tooltip here because this is like self-explanatory. And now we have an icon here and point costs. Okay. And the selection outline, we basically, yeah, we leave it like this for now. And we also do validate fields. So basically this is a custom method that goes over all the fields in this class where this is called, and it finds the required methods, and if they are null, it will basically throw an error. It will tell you what field is required, and it will stop the play mode, right? So this is very easy way how to basically validate that if artists or even me, I have forgot to fill out something that should be filled, that should have reference, it will tell me exactly where is the issue and that I should fill it, right? So this reduces like bugs in the game dramatically and null references, right? If for anybody interested, I can then share this code, but yeah, you also have it here. Okay. So, perk node element. So we have it here. And now we need, when this window is opened, we need a way how to select these perks. So we have some class that is called basically UI model. This is a design pattern where we have these variables declared here, like is inventory open, but it's not a typical boolean, it's of type observable value. So what this allows us to do, that outside listeners that want to listen for the change that, for example, inventory has opened or something else has changed. They can register for changes in this variable. And when this variable changes from, for example, from false to true, they will get notified, right? And this is also what we need. So I will introduce, let me copy this. And this will be what element is currently selected. And I think we don't even need element, we can use perk definition straight up here. The default value is null, and selected perk. The perk currently selected in the perk window. Okay. So what do we do here is we need to basically two things. We need to listen if user clicked on this element. So this can easily be done by listening on a button click. So button, and listening on this UI module. So modules.get UI model. And we get the selected perk here, we will register, and we basically just call repaint. Let me name the repaint. And each time this value is changed, this method gets called with the new value. So what we can do is this outline will get activated. And we can actually change it to game object. We don't need image there. If the new selected perk is the perk this UI element represents. So like this. If it's not, then we deactivate the outline. So basically only the perk that is currently selected by the user will be active. And what we can also do is we can repaint it immediately. So in case in the editor we leave this outline active, then at the start, basically this will get repainted and it will be deactivated because no perk is active at the start, only will select some perk by default. And we can also register for, I think it's called on-click event. And let me save the UI model here. And let's set the selected perk, the value equals definition. So basically, when we click on this perk, we change the selected perk, and this repaint gets called for this and all other perks in the UI, and everything will get correctly repainted. Okay, so do we have everything we need? Let me get back into the editor. So the outline and the button, yeah. Okay. So let's do this again, and the button is this button. Okay. Okay, and now I would say we are actually set. So we will be able to click on the perks and have them correctly selected. We don't display any info for now. What we also need to do is have an ability to open this window, because this window will get deactivated basically at the start of the game. So what we can do is, I'm trying to remember how this works, because this is a new window after a new widget basically after several weeks. The first thing we need to do is we need to go into the game scene, and we need to set up that we want this widget to be injected into the scene. So this is done here. We create a new object, Perk System, and as we have these widgets, we attach a widget spawner, and then Is it somewhere here? Yeah. We basically drag the perks widget into this value. So when the scene is started, basically this widget only instantiates this prefab into the scene. Why don't we have the perks in the scene? Because then Unity, when we work in this scene, the Unity is kind of slow, you know, when you go into the scene, you have to load everything at once, all the UI would all get cluttered, and this makes this main scene basically more lightweight, right? Okay, so we have the perks here. So now the perks will get created into the scene when we start the game, but we still cannot open it. We could open it manually, so let me enter the game. And yeah, it's here. And of course, we have forgotten to assign the icons to the perks. Okay, so that's why we had these white rectangles. So let me pick perk. Yes, this one. Okay. Okay, let us try it again. And as you can see, the widget spawner basically spawned the perks widget here, which is this one. And we have the perks here, and we can select them. Yeah, so everything seems to be working. Okay. So let me try to figure out how to make this, how to make it disabled by default, and then have the user be able to open it with some button or some shortcut. So let me find the codex. Okay, so we have the window definition. Yeah. So now we need to create a new class. Let us perk view, perk tree view. So this will be the main UI component attached to this perks widget. This will be like a controller, and we need a reference to a window definition, model window, game model window definition window. So I will go in a second. I will go over what this means. So serials field. So in Darfall we have these custom scriptable objects, which are these windows, and there we define like what shortcuts you can use to toggle them. So for example, some of you may know when you like press the I, it's inventory, it will open up inventory. And this is basically defined in the windows. And here are the windows, like for example, ability book has a shortcut of B, right? So we try to create as many scriptable object system as we can, because they are very modular, like artists can create them, configure them, you don't need to change any code, and it's all like Lego that you build. So let us duplicate this window and we make it a perk tree. Shortcut. Let's not have any shortcut right now. We want to pause the game when this is open, because yeah, then you open the perks, you want to have time for you to make your decision, right? And we don't assign any audio right now. Okay, so let's get back into the perks. Let's add the perk tree view, and let's select the perks window here. Perk tree. Okay, so like this. But now, when this is created, we still need to make this window open or close. So this window has again, is open, observable value. So anytime this window is open or closed, we get the notification. So let's register, let's go repaint. Or what we can actually just do is that we just toggle on or off this object. So GameObject.activate B, let's rename it, is opened. Okay, so I finished the perk nodes. Let us get into the game. And as you can see here, all the perk nodes, like the icons are synchronized, the tooltip costs are synchronized. So anything we change in the perk nodes here in the data, it gets reflected into UI. I have also added a simple tooltip. So as you can see, when I hover over, for example, hit points, it tells me the name and what the tooltip does, right? And this was done very easily. Basically in our perk node element, I implemented these two Unity interfaces, and anytime the pointer enters or exits the perk node element itself, the Unity calls these functions. And in Darfall we have this tooltip manager. I just put like what I want to show here, it gets shown, then I hide it when the pointer exits. Yes, so this is basically very simple system. So now when we select something, we want to display info here. So we created this perk tree view. What we can do, let's go into the widget perk, and of course Unity search is a bit slow. So this is this perk tree view, and let us create the bottom part. So let's create an empty object. Let's anchor it down, and let's name it like section selection, and let's also enable the reference image. So there is this title or name of the perk, there is the description and the button to unlock the perk. Okay, so let's start with the first text, which is the golden text. We have specific prefab for that. Okay, let me align it, let me resize it. So like hit points 2. We'll basically change the title here with the code, so it doesn't matter really what is here. Then we have the tooltip itself, so which is the regular text, and you can put it into the middle. Okay, so again something like this. For test, increases heroes hit points by 10. So this is just a preview, so we can see it better. And then last is the button. So let's create a button for this. Okay, so learn for 2 perk points. Let's rename it learn. So this is description, and this is header. Okay, let's resize it. And we actually have a similar button in the ability book. So let's go to take a look at the ability book, how the button is done there. I think it's here. Okay, so this is the button image book. No, it's where it is. Button reset. Button unlock. Okay, so this has a single text, and I guess this is, if I remember correctly, the change of text color, which is basically here, is done with a simple, to show you, you see, like the color changes, this is done with rich text. So let us disable the icon, we don't need it. Let us resize it and like this. And let's put the placeholder text, learn for 2 perk points. Okay. So this is all set. Now we need to connect this info into the perk tree view. So let's get back into the code and let's create and also let's put the required field here and validate fields. So we are all safe and protected. Private tm pro text. So this will be our type selection title. Then we'll have selection description, and last is the button behavior, which is the learn button. Okay, so remember we had this UI model where the current selected perk is stored. So we just basically again register for this perk change. So when the user selects or changes the selection of perks, this method gets called. So on selection change, and let's put it on perk selection change here, value, and we also want to repaint it like immediately when the start method gets called. And okay, so if value is nothing, so if we don't have any perk selected, we basically hide all these objects. Or what we can do is we don't need to hide them one by one. We can create another object that will basically reference their parent. So we only hide or enable their parent. So let me do it. Selection holder. Okay, then activate true. Else. Oh no. Let's activate false. So if the selected perk is null, so now we have nothing selected, we hide the selection panel. If we have something selected, we display it. Now let's update the text. So the title is label of the selected perk, then description, it's text. This is label with capital L, and this is description, and of course I'm using the wrong variable. Description and learn button. Okay, so let's create a new method. To repaint the learn button, because this will be a more complex method. Because we need to check like several values here. Yes, like this value. So for now, let's just, and it's not only about button, but it's also about the text in the button, because we need to update the text of the button. So learn button text. So learn for. So this is a temporary text because we will use localization for this. Dot point cost perk points. Okay. And if we click the button, so button on click, but can register on learn click, we basically take the selected perk and we learn it. And if I remember correctly, can do this by Perk System dot unlock perk. Yeah. So this is the API I have written previously, where we basically unlock the perk we put into this method. Okay, so we have everything learn button. Yes. Currently, we do not have a setup where, let's get back into Unity, where we can only unlock the perks that are in order, because yeah, you'll need to unlock perks from the beginning. You cannot just take the last perk and unlock it first, but yeah, we'll deal with that later. Okay, let us fill the references. So, the title, the description, the button, the text, and the entire section. So let me also rename the text learn perk. Okay, let me disable the reference. Now, if we enter the game and we select some perk, basically we should see, hopefully, yeah, data for the perk. So basically, as you can see, there is a grayscale effect on perks that cannot be learned. So let's try to implement this. Select the perk. Let's create repaint state method. We call it at the beginning. And let's also get the perk system here. And perks. Cannot we get the state of the perk? Perks. Let us check. Find cheese. Create perk. Unlock perk. Reward. Get learn perks. Okay, so what do we need here is we need to access this perk and get its state. So get perk. Let's call it find perk. And perks further default where perk definition equals this one. And if we didn't have found any perk, we log an error, so we know like something is wrong. This null perk definition that name was found in the perk system. Okay, and return found perk. Okay. So find perk definition. So this instance of perk basically has the saved definition and whether it is learned or not. And now we can check it. So what we can do to apply the grayscale is we have this component. If I remember correctly, if I just attach it on the element right now, it will become grayscale. So if is learned, there's this get state. No, we need its state. So let's get the state equals learnable, learned, locked. So if the perk is locked, this means it cannot be currently unlocked. We apply the effect. Okay, let's try this. Okay, let us save this widget. Let's enter the game. So we check it at the start. Hopefully this will be sufficient. Yeah. So this seems to be working. But of course we have we didn't disable the reference image. So we saw also the reference image. But now if we enable it, yeah. So the disabled perks have a grayscale effect applied, but as you can see, like there's this issue that the text is also grayscaled. We'll deal with it later, but currently the perks that can be learned have good state. What we can also do is, if perk cannot be learned, it will be locked, so you will not be able to even select it. So if perk is locked, but let's also save this, we also disable the button interaction. Otherwise, learned. And let's save this grayscale effect. And we remove it. Otherwise, if it exists, let's destroy it. Destroy. Okay. And we also destroy it. But to make this nicer, we just do else and enable the perk. Okay. So now this should be set. This state will not get however updated when we unlock some other perks. So we need some notification that the perks have changed. What we can do is we can go here and I'm thinking whether to do. Okay, so what we can do is we can fire an event. We can create an event on perks changed. This is an iGame event. Let's describe it. Fire when any perks in the change. Let's update the namespace. And what we do here is we can fire this event into the game events, and then our element will be listening for this event. And when this event is fired, basically we call this method again. So it should get all synchronized. So unlock perk is learned. Let's fire the event when we learn a new perk. Our on perk changed. Now let's register on perk changed. So we basically register for when this event gets fired, and what we do is just repaint the state. Okay, and I think we should also this registration also returns a disposable handle. So when this object gets destroyed, we need to clean up this registration, otherwise you would get a memory leak. So on destroy, we basically dispose of this handle, and I think we also need to dispose of this select perk handle. So otherwise, basically your already destroyed components would still listen for these events and like execute stuff, and you don't want to do this. Okay, so we should have it. Let's get back into Unity. Let's try it. And hopefully it will work. So let's wait for recompilation. Okay, and this is also locked for some reason. Why? Of course, this is wrong. Okay, so we add the grayscale and then we destroy it if it exists. And we can also set it to null. But I think we don't need to because this is Unity check for the null reference. So they should handle that in the background, hopefully. And okay, yeah, and we cannot, I'm clicking and we cannot select other perks. And let's learn the first perk, and it's learned, and the second has unlocked. And now hero has more HP, 385. Let's learn this. This has unlocked, and HP is 423. And let's learn the latest perk, and 465. Yeah, so this is working. I see there is the bug that the text hasn't updated, and the button is also shown for perks that we have already learned. So let's fix this small issue. Let's go into not the perk but the perk view, and the same as here, we will listen for this on perk change game event. The pen learn button. So if we unlock the perk, what we can actually do is just repaint it right here. So we will repaint the selected perks. So if let us find the perk system. Oh, it's already here. Get perk. No, find perk value that is learned. No, states. So we can learn it only if it's learnable. Otherwise, we basically set text. So we need to set the interactability of this button to false. Here we set it to true. And what we can actually do is not just this, but just disable. Let's just disable it. So this is true. And if we have already learned it or it's locked, we just disable it here. Okay. So this should fix the issue. Let's test it. Of course, I will then later translate these texts because we use translations, Unity translations, so we can also showcase this. So this text will not be hard-coded here. Let us test this final UI change. So let us unlock it, and button has disappeared. And this has appeared, and I cannot select the locked perks. Again, let's unlock this, unlock this, unlock this. Yeah, and yeah, we have a fully working perk system. What we are missing right now is just the connection with the perks. So hero should be able to learn perk points and acquire perk points. This will be done either through when your hero levels up, he gains a perk points, or you actually can kill elites and bosses on the map. They will drop scroll of knowledge, and you can use this scroll to gain basically perk points. So there will be different ways how you can acquire perk points in Darfall. Yeah, and you will also be able to craft the perks using the library. And of course, this is just a temp model. This is just a cube. We don't have a model for this yet, but you can see there is a book of knowledge. And if I craft it, it's crafted here. And I can pick it with a hero. And yeah, we have an error here because I haven't defined a translation for it, but then we can learn it and learn and gain a new perk. So this is also how you can acquire new perks with the library building. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching. We have created the perk system from scratch. Hopefully, yeah, this was good. You saw like how it works in the background in the UI side in the Darfall. That is pretty easy to set up. Yeah, thank you. See you in the next devlog. Bye bye.